This is part two of the prophecy updates as of November the 30th, 2025, on this Sunday afternoon. Get back to where I left off at. It says Moscow condemns Ukrainian terrorist attacks in the Black Sea. Another sign of wars or rumors of wars between Russia and Ukraine. Another sign of that. It says Moscow condemns the attacks in the Black Sea. A kamikaze drone has damaged two oil tankers blacklisted by the West, as well as the crude hub in southern Russia in recent days. It says Russian Foreign Minister spokeswoman Maria Shakhovaya, if I pronounce the name right, has condemned recent Ukrainian attacks on an international energy infrastructure. It says over the past several days, explosive Latin sea drones and attacks on the Gabian flag tankers off the coast of Turkey, as well as a major crude hub on Russia's Black Sea coast. It says in a statement on Sunday, Shekhavir emphasized that the civilian energy infrastructures that's what attack plays an important role in ensuring global energy security and has never been subjected to any international sanctions or restrictions whatsoever. According to the Russian spokesperson, the Kiev regime special services has effectively claimed responsibility for, it says, an attack on sabotage evidence by footage published by Ukrainian media. Several Ukrainian and Western news outlets has reported that the security services of Ukrainian SBU and the Ukrainian Navy were behind the strikes on the tankers on Friday, which presumably involved sea-baby naval drones. Shekharov noted that the latest attacks comes against the backdrop of a major corruption scandal in Ukraine involving senior officials. Moreover, the Ukrainian military has been steady losing ground to Russian forces in recent months. She suggested that the latest attacks on the sabotage has been conducted in efforts to divert the Ukrainian public attentions. In a post X on Saturday, Turkish Foreign Minister spokesperson Onsu Krasili condemned attacks on the vessels within the country's exclusive economic zone in the Black Sea, but stopped it short of blaming any country. He wrote that the incident posed a serious risk to navigation, human life, and uh, property and environment. Cassidy added that Turkey was communicating with all parts to prevent the spread of war and further escalations in the Black Sea. The vessels questioned in the Karios and the Variet are on the Western blacklist for alleged transporting Russian oil in a violation of sanctions. Moscow has consistently denied operations in the shadow fleet designed to skirt restrictions. It is understood that both tankers were en route to Russian port of Novosselsky when when they came under attack on Friday. It says on Sunday, the Kawazaka, if I pronounce that right, foreign minister condemned a drone attack on the Capson pipeline consortium infrastructure in the southern Russia the previous day. It says the consortium specializing in transporting crude from Kazakhstan. It gets back to that, what's that, Matthew's 24th chapter. Luke 21 verse 25, before I bring that out. Luke 21 verse 25. There shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth. Distress of nations for perplexity, verse 1. Right, so we see in this modern day distress of nations for perplexity, verse 1. especially with the tensions between the nations, especially seeing Russia versus Ukraine as the tensions are heating up because you got both sides accusing each others of escalations between both sides, despite the fact that West countries trying to push forth a peace deal between the two nations. But we see the tensions are escalating between these nations, between Russia and Ukraine, as I have a side onto that. And this is Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, in verse 4. It says, "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horse and horsemen. All of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company of shields, all of them having swords." Right, so Russia is still going to be in that warlike mindset because their father, Yahweh, is still going to put that warlike mindset in these Russians, despite the fact they're trying to deny the facts of rising tensions that they oppose against the European Union and NATO and Ukraine. But the tensions are only going to escalate, and the Heavenly Father is going to continue to push forth that He's going to put that spirit on the Russians to continue to be in that warlike mindset, because Russia represents the bear in Ezekiel 38th chapter. And this is Matthew 24 in verse 6. It says, "Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars," right? Russia versus Ukraine. "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must first come to pass, but it is not yet." Right, so 444, call halal Yabashina. Right, so we're going to see these modern day wars and rumors of wars, which is only going to continue to increase on a daily basis that Yahushua spoke about. Matthew 24, verse 7, "For nation shall rise against nation, which goes into ethnos, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes and diverse places." This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 46. It says, "They shall have faint fear for a woman that should be heard of man. And a woman should come off 1 year. After that, another year should come in ruler, possibly ruler against ruler." Right, that's what we're seeing. As it says again, Moscow condemns Ukrainian attacks on the Black Sea, right? Because the Russia-Ukraine situation is intensifying by the daily basis, despite the fact they're trying to push forth a ceasefire agreement between both of the nations. It says U.S. rehearsal. It says U.S. rehearsals airstrikes against Venezuela, right? Wars and rumors of wars. Donald Trump has reportedly threatened Nicolas Maduro with regime change in a phone call. All right, so another sign of wars and rumors of wars. And this was taking place over there in Germany. I believe this happened over the weekend, like Friday or Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. And this is from RT.com as of November 29th. Yeah, so that was yesterday, as of November 29th, 2025. It says chaos erupted as protesters against new right-wing German youth group. It says left-wing protesters have clashed with police and attacked supporters of the controversial AfD party. It says massive demonstrations have started in the cities of Jalsi, where the right-wing Alternative for Germany party, AfD, has gathered for the weekend to establish a new youth organization called the Generation Deutschland. It says the protest has been organized by the left-wing Resistance Alliance, which plans to block founding ceremonies of the new group. It says activities with the alliance descend on the typical quiet college town early on Saturday in attempts to block the roads, break through the police cordons, and attack rival AfD members and supporters. It says local police says groups protest was a massive obstructive traffic. It says law and enforcement repeatedly used pepper spray and water cannons to dislodge the unruly protesters, who turned hurlers, flares, and other projectiles, and the officials engaged in head-on charge at police cordons. Video clip. And most of these are liberal Edomites versus the conservative Edomite. It says footage circulating online appears to show a group of black-clad left-wingers brawling with the AFD MP Julian Scrimmage, if I pronounced the name right. A lawmaker seemingly supported by another individual engaging in a physical confrontation with the protesters before knocked to the ground, and the footage suggests. And this is from Radio Genial from X reported. It says mass anti-fascist attack demonstrate the democratically elected AFD MP Julian support only. The AFD can save Germany. Edomite Edomite groups clashing against one another. It says another group, a lot of videos circulating online shows a group of violent protesters attacking a car on a road, tries to block the vehicles repeatedly carrying either the AFD members or the journalists slated over the violent foundation ceremony. It says the violent mob attack marks police vehicles as well as another vehicle suggests showing Germany. Cops fled the scene after their side window was smashed. It says a local said up to 15 officers sustained minor injuries during the unrest. It says a number of protesters were hurt as well. And the local media reported multiple people showed up to a local hospital for emergency treatment over the day, and at least one police horse was injured in the chaos, according to the disruption picture circulating online. And they even jacked up the horse. Hey, it was wild over there in Germany. It's great Edomites over there. It says the efforts to disrupt the AFD even appears to partly successful, with the meeting reportedly started behind schedule as several high-profile figures, including parties leaders Tino Tripolia, Alice Wardell, as well as Jean Brodsky, unable to reach the design venue on time. Home was ultimately elected chairman. The youth, it says the new youth wing replaced a now dissolved young alternative JA. The latter was disbanded by the party this March after Germany Federal Intelligence Agency's label is as a bad group, which I'm going to say in code. So once again, this is the Gospel of Luke 21 and verse 25. It says, "There shall be signs in the sun and the moon and the stars upon the earth. Disgressive nations for complexity." Right, with these protesters, you got the liberals versus the conservatives over there in these European countries. And we see this here in America and around the world. That's what you call upwards and people world. So we're about to break out that second edit that I'm closing out. This was just part two of the sit down. That's other prophecy updates. And this is second Ezra's chapter 9 verse 3. It says, therefore, when there should be seen earthquakes, upwards people world. Why some don't continue to see increasing earthquakes in the upwards people world, as Ezra was mentioned. And this is second Ezra 15 chapter. This is book Second Edges 15 verse 15. It says, "For the sword that destruction draweth nigh," because we know the moderate sword's weapon. It says, "For the sword that destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another with swords in hands." And just like we see in those video clips over there in Germany, you had the liberals versus conservatives over there. Germany, Edomites. Yep, read that again. "For the sword that destruction draweth nigh, and one people should stand up and fight against another with sword in their hands, right with sword of moderate swords weapon." Verse 16, "For there shall be sedition among men," right with the protests that's been going on, and the protesting against that leaders in power. "For there shall be sedition among men, hating one another. They should not regard their kings nor their princes, and of course the action stand in power." So we're going to see more and more as the days progresses on with these seditions, these uprisings, protests around the world. As we get closer and closer to that great insurrection, because that's an uprising in Second Ezra 16 chapter. It says Second Ezra. Oh, someone leave it at that. Yep, Second Ezra 16 verse 70. It says, "For there shall be in every place in the Slovakia spam call." Second Ezra 16 verse 7. "For there shall be in every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those who fear Yahweh." Right, insurrection was uprising. Yep, "For there shall be every place in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear Yahweh." Second Ezra 16 verse 71. "They should be like madmen, spared not, but spoiling and destroying those that fear Yahweh." Second Ezra 16 verse 72. "For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast out of the houses." So with that, hopefully this prophecy update, sit down lesson prophecy update was edifying as of November the 30th, 2025. Part 1 and Part 2 of the sit down lesson of the prophecy updates. So with that, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wakakadash, and the Heavenly Father. True name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, Bahashem, in the name of Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Lost Wakadash Luton. And I say Barakatham to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akwaf. Until next time, I will say Shalom.